Hello, welcome back to me and my room and you know, whatever this is just generally. So I know it has been a long time. I'm singing now. Rockin' Man. Sorry. So I know it's been a really long time since I've posted a video. I even had one of you reach out to me about it to check if I was okay, and I do very much appreciate you. Thank you. Shout out. But I'm fine. Basically what happened was I got into a stretch of time around the start of the lockdowns, but especially since Christmas, where some stress at work, we had to basically speed up. It was really stressful. We were understaffed, and stuff with my PhD stuff, just kind of, I was in a lot more depth than I had been previously. It was just like wall-to-wall kind of stressful stuff, and I basically haven't done any of my hobbies for months. It's been a lot, but I left my job a couple weeks ago to focus on actually getting into the nitty-gritty as I, steer myself towards the end of my thesis. So I do have a little bit more time, but I'm still essentially working the equivalent of 2 jobs. So this is gonna be fun. Really what I wanted to do today is make a video I've been wanting to make ever since this whole stress business started, because everyone's kind of had that stretch of time where they're really stressed out, or they're facing a period of anxiety, or they're really depressed. I know I've had all of those times. It sucks. It's been months going, and I had to kind of try and figure out ways to calm my mind down, ways to keep myself, not freaking out all the time. So I wanted to just sort of put this out there, because this is the sort of stuff that helps me. And if you're ever in that situation where, everything just seems really like it's coming at you too quickly, this is what I found that works for me, and I really wanted to talk about that because I've been really grateful to the things that I found. So, as you can probably tell by my awkwardness, I didn't actually write a script today. It's bullet points on this piece of cardboard. So that's fun. Oh, that's hot. So what I'm gonna do first is kind of go through some of those individual techniques that I found in the last few months that have really been helping me. And then I'm going to kind of go through a couple of routines that I built around those things, because ever since I started doing that, it's like I was able to into my days. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, I'm still starting from like a really stressed out headspace, because when you're in this like really frazzled mindset and you walk into a place that's already making you anxious, you're already kind of buzzed. I found a way to sort of dip into some sort of relaxation, and then when I got home, kind of do the same thing. Like, I knew that the frazzled feeling was going to come back, but for a few minutes I could kind of let that go. So the first thing I'm going to talk about was recommended to me online, and they linked me to a video that kind of talked about magical meditation techniques. And the one in particular that they pointed out to me was something called shielding. And it's a meditation technique that's very visualization focused. And I'm going to come back to visualization in a second, because that kind of forms a through line for a lot of the stuff that's on my list. Shielding is essentially a sort of meditation that you would do in the morning or before you go into something really stressful. Sometimes I'd forget and kind of do a version of it on the way into work. That was mostly me talking to myself. But you would essentially first you'd kind of center or ground yourself. And that's really difficult for me. So the one that I found really helpful was like picturing roots growing out through my bed and into the floor. I live on the first floor, so it's not actually going into the ground, but it was still a helpful visualization tool for me that kind of kept me grounded. To shield yourself, picture a shield going up around you. And this can be whatever you want. The first time I ever did it was literally Captain America's shield that kind of created an egg shape around me. My personal favorite one that I used to do was I would be I kind of do the WandaVision thing with her hands. I kind of always associate her with power. And so I would build my own hex around myself. And that was one of my favorites. But I used to do a lot with water. So I'd picture like a waterfall kind of going over me, and then I could see rainbows out of it. So I could like try and pick out like joys or vines, like Sleeping Beauty style, lots of different things. So that was shielding, and then that way you've got a shield up literally around you. So I mean, it's not going to stop like things getting to you, but you kind of have a mental barrier that you've built for yourself. But I definitely felt a bit more prepared to kind of face that stress that I was going through at the time. The next thing I want to talk about is something that I never ever thought I would say: Reiki. So if you don't know what Reiki is, it's a Japanese, the name is Japanese. I don't know. I truly don't know where it originated. I haven't done that much research on it, but it's a form of energy healing that uses a lot of like crystals, and it's very much into your aura and all of that sort of thing. I was convinced that that wasn't something that I would ever be into, because, you know, in your rational mind you think there's nothing to a crystal, especially not over the internet when I'm watching this on YouTube. Like, how does that work? I found it completely by accident. I truly, honestly don't remember why it came up, but I saw that and like a hypnosis video. I clicked on both because I was genuinely curious. Now, I can't be hypnotized. It's a control thing, and as they say, if you don't want to be hypnotized, you're not going to be hypnotized, and I'm terrified of it, so it doesn't work on me. Well, the hypnosis video ended up not doing anything for me because nothing was, you know, happening, and you know. But the Reiki one, I every once in a while get into these patterns of watching ASMR videos. Now, I don't get the tingles, but I love the personal attention ones, like the ones where they pretend to draw you or like cut your hair. I don't know why. I love that sort of thing. I used to love it when my sisters would play like a beauty salon with me when I was a kid. I don't know why, but I loved the personal attention videos and like that sort of thing. So the Reiki one it was really nice. So I clicked on another one. And it started being my new ASMR thing, which I would watch before bed. That's what I used to do. I would watch a little bit of an ASMR video before bed. And that's what it started to be. And I figured it would just be, you know, once I got out of the ASMR phase, I would, you know, go back to, you know, the comedy videos, which I would normally watch before bed. But this one struck me in a very, very different way. When I was in therapy over the summer, towards the end, my therapist offhandedly made a visual analogy about our emotions. She said, picture your emotions as a baggage carousel. And you can, when you pick up a good emotion, you look at it, you smile, you put it back, and it goes back into the buggy, or the dark thing where the bag goes, right? And then it can come around again. But when we pick up a negative memory, our brain pushes it away, and so it chucks it to the other side, and it comes back around a lot quicker, and it just kind of goes in this kind of cut off cycle. And I was like, oh, I really like that. And then she made a separate one. She said, your negative emotions, your intrusive thoughts, because this is on the subject of intrusive thoughts, you're on a train and you have to stop at the station, but you don't have to get off the train. There it is. That was the first time something really resonated with me, like perfectly. It was exactly what I needed. So it started being that if I was having an intrusive thought, I could close my eyes, I could picture myself on the train, and then the thought would become a station, and I would watch myself pull out of the station. And it worked a treat. It was amazing. And I realized that I respond really well to visualization. And Reiki, so its whole thing is, so it's energy healing. It's focusing on relaxation, building up your self-love, self-empowerment. So it's all intrinsic anyway. Like, there's manifesting stuff, manifesting luck, manifesting money, but for the most part, it's an intrinsic kind of your own thing. Obviously, I like that. I want to be more empowered, right? Everyone does. So one of the videos I was watching, the practitioner literally picked up a comb and said, I'm going to comb through your aura to get some of the negativity out. And there was a visualization metaphor, right? I could physically picture anything negative being combed out of, my body, being pulled out. There's a lot of, I'm gonna put this down so I can, there's a lot of like pulling that goes on. There's some plucking that goes on. Smoke, we could watch it go up in smoke, release it into the smoke. That I really responded to that. It's very much a visualization exercise for your own intrinsic healing. So whether or not you believe in the power of crystals or if you believe in an aura, that doesn't matter. I have found that this thing, which you could do for free over the internet, allowed me that visualization tool to every night. And it has been for months now. I've watched a video or parts of a video every night. Now you're supposed to watch a whole session at once, a whole 40 minutes to an hour session at one go. I don't do that. You're supposed to, but I don't. I get too tired, which is fine. It's been the perfect thing to allow me to kind of go to sleep with a clearer mind. And one of the things that my favorite Reiki YouTuber says all the time, and I've found the way that she words things very, very helpful for my own views on my emotions, on my thoughts, on my own anxieties. I find the idea of the cult of positive thinking to be really detrimental. You can't change everything with positive attitude. Like, yeah, you can change your outlook with gratitude. That's been, proven to do stuff, but your problems aren't going to go away just because you say everything's fine now, right? But what she will say is she'll say, for the next hour, we're going to put these things down. You can always pick them back up again when we're done. But for right now, we're focusing on you. And that, oh my God, I cannot tell you how helpful that was for my own, how I thought about myself and how I thought about my own anxieties. It gave me permission in a way that other techniques hadn't given me to just try and focus on myself for that 10-20 minutes before bed, sometimes shorter, sometimes longer, right? I will put my 2 favorite YouTubers in the comment or in the description below because it's magical. I know I've been talking way too long, but seriously, I cannot stress enough how helpful this has been for me. The next thing I'm going to talk about is got a bit of a qualifier, and that's essential oils and that kind of stuff. So I actually have 3 here, and 2 of them are lavender based. Lavender is probably my favorite thing in the whole wide world right now, because I just find it so calming. I use it when I have migraines, because that kind of calming feeling, and now I've associated it with, okay, take a breath, you can do this. So this is just a roll-on thing that I got off of Amazon. Anyway, I got this very particularly because of this. Now, my mom got me this for Christmas. It's one of those migraine sticks that you roll on your head. God, this is the best thing that has ever happened to me. I get awful migraines, and the cooling thing that this, it's got mint in it, and the way it feels like the coolness on your head actually distracts you from the pain. It's phenomenal. And it actually started helping me get to sleep, so I bought myself one for sleep in particular. But because lavender is supposed to also help you with anxiety, my mom made me this a few years back, and I use it as perfume. And it's an anxiety spray. It's just a lavender spray. Another thing I use them for is I take one of those cotton round thing that I used to take off my makeup, and I put orange, lemon, frankincense, eucalyptus, the things that really go up your sinuses. And whenever I have hay fever, I'll just sniff it, and it legitimately helps me stop sneezing. It's highly recommend. Now, the reason I say this is qualifier is because a lot of these to make is fairly resource intensive. Take rose, for instance, it takes a lot of water to make, so it's not really that environmentally friendly. I would just say that if you are a fan like I am, you just be very conscious of which ones you use, how you use it, and what quantity you use it. It is about, you know, relaxation and just it's aromatherapy sort of thing. So it's not like it's medicine. So you shouldn't use it too much, sort of thing. This video is already getting super long. We're just gonna move on. Tea. Now I'm holding it. I'm just gonna talk about it. When I first started drinking tea, I was going through a really, really, really rough spot. I wasn't happy where I was living. I was really, really stressed out. It was my senior year of college. I was really stressed out, and I had just broken up with someone. And I was just not in a good place. I would take a break with tea. And I did that very specifically. I would refuse to do any work as long as I had a cup of tea with me. And I essentially conditioned my brain to see tea as a calming thing. So you can do this with anything. I conditioned my brain to see Coke as a migraine healer a while back. It's gone now, I can't do it anymore. I wish I could, that'd be so useful. One of my colleagues used to have this sticky note on her computer that said hot drink equals deep breathing. So every single time she had a hot drink and she would see this post-it note, she would take a few minutes to focus on her breathing. So even if the drink itself isn't conditioned with the relaxing thing, you might be able to remind yourself every time you have this particular drink to take a few minutes for breathing, and I just find that really, really helpful. So I wanted to point that out. I love music, love it. Who doesn't? I am a flute player, I was a singer, I played the saxophone. I studied music therapy for a semester before I decided it ultimately wasn't what I wanted to do. You know, there's a lot of science around how our brain reacts to music. So one day, and I actually have an entire blog post about this, but I'm always willing to go into all the detail because it's my favorite thing in the world, is one time when I was going through a particularly bad anxiety phase, I noticed that I was listening to the same songs over and over. So I thought, just make a playlist. And I still use it. Sometimes the songs switch out when associations kind of switch or don't necessarily resonate with my anxiety the way it used to. But for the most part, it's stayed fairly consistent since I made it. And that's like a really massive thing. So if I'm going through a thing, anxiety playlist is the first thing that comes on. I also loved Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. You know this. I talk about it all the time. And because of the comedy and the kind of self-deprecating healing factor of the music, I find going back and listening to that stuff really, really helpful as well. So if I am going through something really hard, or if I'm just having a really bad day, Crazy Ex, and it makes me smile. So it doesn't have the same calming effect that my anxiety playlist does, but it makes me smile because it's silly and it's fun and you have a good time. Try to go for a walk every day as well, especially now that I'm not walking to work anymore. And Spotify makes those daily mixes, so I kind of try and listen to those and listen to new songs over I'm walking to kind of, keep myself kind of in the groove, and I really enjoy that, and I find that really helpful. My therapist once told me, and my old therapist told me, that walking a mile releases as much serotonin as a bumper dose of your depression medication. I don't know if that's true, but even if it isn't, the placebo effect is still there, and it's really, really helpful to just get some fresh air, breathe it in, and you're outside and you're moving and you're listening to something you really enjoy. So you can do that with podcasts as well. I used to do it with YouTube videos, so lots of different ways you can do that. Kind of while I'm on the subject, I found, and I'm gonna kind of combine two here that I was gonna put in a routine thing, but I'm gonna put it here instead. I found murder documentaries or murder YouTube videos very, very calming. I don't know why. That kind of true crime thing, I don't know why I find it so calming. I think it has something to do with the fact that it's wrapped up. I think the fact that it is over, it's in the past. Because I found that watching true crime documentaries about things that are going on right now will really upset me. But if I watch something about a murder that took place 20 years ago, it's fine. And I also think the kind of monotone voices of the narrators are also weirdly calming. Maybe it's just my messed up brain, because I know I have one of those. The reason I bring that up is because one of the other things on my list is I've had to take a break from the news several times, especially in the last year. Everything just seems so overwhelming, and I just felt so hopeless that I just had to turn the whole thing off. First, I felt really guilty because I thought, you know, why should I be able to turn this off? That was a sign of my privilege that I could turn it off because it couldn't affect me if I turned it off, that sort of thing. But eventually, I had to sort of just make my peace with the fact that sometimes your mental health is more important. And I still try and keep myself informed, but it's on a much lighter scale, and I'll scale back and then I'll go back in, and then I'll scale back and then I'll go back in, kind of depending on where my mental state is at that point. Also, something that I've started doing at night, and I think of this with the murder documentaries, because when I was home over lockdown, I would do that when I was watching a documentary with my mom, is I would stretch like I used to at dance, and I would just do floor stretches and kind of just a stretching routine every night. And it was just so relaxing. And I haven't been doing it for a while, but I really want to get back into it because it was just so nice to just feel like I was, all that tension that like my muscles when they were stretching, I could imagine was the world away. I talked about, you know, how helpful visualization has been for me. It has become a visualization tool. The next two things I'm going to talk about, the last two things I'm going to talk about, are two routines that I've set up for myself to ease myself into what might be a stressful day. This really only worked on the weekends or when I woke up really early. But since I've left work, I've been doing it every single morning, and it is phenomenal. But this is a very much for me thing, so I understand. But this is what I've been doing every morning. I'll put on something on YouTube or Netflix or whatever, and it has to be something I can watch. It can't be like narration in the background. I have to be able to watch it. And I'll start with breakfast, which is usually a fresh baked cinnamon roll from the co-op next to my house. Oh. So I'll boil a kettle on my way out the door, come back, make the tea, and then come upstairs, eat it. And then when that's done, I pull out my handy dandy puzzle book. So right now I'm doing Pocket Code Words collection because code words are my favorite puzzles. But usually I have one of those assorted puzzle books, and I'll do that. I'll do a couple puzzles every morning. But I'll do the code words and drink my tea. And it's just it just starts my day off so nicely. I get something I really like to eat. I get a nice, lovely cup of tea and some time to just do something I genuinely enjoy that is relaxing. So that was kind of my my weekend routine while I was at work. But when I was still at work and I would have to go in the mornings, and I did not want to wake up any earlier than I had to. I would eat breakfast on the way, all of this super unhealthy shit. But what I would do is I would start kind of doing this thing with my planners every morning. I keep 3 at a time. Well, right now. This is for my PhD work. You can see it's a planner. I plan things. But when I was shopping for this, I found this, which is called the Wellness Journal from Blue Sky Planners. I was like, well, I'm gonna take that. And it has, so it's like a normal planner. I don't use it as a normal planner, obviously, because I have a normal planner, but it's got a mood tracker, it's got like days of the week, and then at the front of every month, it gives you kind of a monthly overview. So you go back at the end of the month and you fill that in about the month you just had. And at the end of every week, it says, how was your mental health this week and how was your physical health this week? And it helps me track that. Because I'm so forgetful, like I can't do anything at one go, I've also started using, and I can't show you this because I'm recording on my phone because I don't have a camera. I started using this app called Dailyo, which I actually found on the ADHD subreddit, so shout out, which sends you push notifications to remind you to check in, like what's your mood right now. And it also sends me a notification to take my pill every day, which I'm extremely forgetful about. So when I get that, I was like, okay, cool. I can keep on track of my medications, which is so nice. Found that, and I've been essentially, what I've been writing in it every day are two major things. One thing that I'm grateful for, which I know I need to be better about practicing gratitude, but because at this point it's just sort of something that I do every day. I'm not actually thinking on it, but I can still go back through the weeks and say, oh, that's right, I did that, or I had that, and all of that sort of stuff. So I still have it. And I also write a tarot pull. So these are my tarot cards in a box that's falling apart because of the number of times it's been brought across the Atlantic Ocean. But for those of you who know me, I've had a weird obsession with cards since I was a kid. Not like I can count them, not that I love card games, just cards. That largely stems from my obsession with Alice in Wonderland, but one of my favorite things about tarot cards is that the cards tell a story. And that's so cool. I'm obsessed with that kind of thing. I got them kind of to have some fun because I thought they were cool and I wanted to learn how to do it. But what it ended up being is what I call myself an impartial third party. So if I can't really see things, I can say that someone else is telling me to do something, and then I don't feel guilty about making that decision by myself. It's like having someone else make your decisions for you, but it's actually your subconscious. I pull a card every day. And that's kind of for me to learn what the cards are like, but it also gives you something to focus on. I will pull a card and I will write down in my wellness journal what the card means and what that means for me to focus on throughout the day. It allows me to focus on something that's not my impending anxiety. I'd pull the card before work and then I'd write the meaning in the journal first thing when I got there, because that would allow me to kind of not look at everything that I had to do and go, oh my God, there's so much. I would be like, okay, what does the devil mean? What about the Ace of Swords? What does that mean? Just simple things like that allow me to think about myself and think about something very grounded, like me, my pen, my paper, and what this card means, right? And then I can ease that into the day. The last aspect of this is a journal, which is this. It's a normal journal, ordered at Target. I'm so bad at it. I've only in the last 2 days kind of tried to write a page a day. So what I would use it for before this was every Monday I'd make a spread for the week, a tarot spread for the week. So what am I going to focus on this week? And I do that every Monday. But then what I would do is another thing that my therapist had recommended to me, and I'm going to promote this here because it was amazing. And it's something she calls worry time. And I found that even if I write one page a day, that I still devote time to worry time. And that was that you would write down every single time you were worried about something, or you were anxious about something, or you just had an overflowing emotion that you didn't have time to think about, you would write it down. As someone with ADD, this was really, really helpful for me because I'm like, oh, I have this thing to do, I gotta write it down. So I write it down, and then you devote a specific amount of time later to reading it and worrying about it. For me, that's when I talk to my mom in the evening. I go through and I go, oh, I just felt really, really tired today and everything sucked and I just blah, 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 go down the list. And then she recommended you physically rip out the page and tear it up so you can tear up all of that worry. I'm not a throw a bunch of paper away sort of girl, so I cross it out. And yeah, I'm like, ah. And so that's worry time. So even as I'm devoting a full page to a journal entry, I can come back to those emotions that I felt at that time, and that could be my worry time. And then I can still take the next page if I think, oh, I gotta think about this right now. Now that I'm home and I'm not really doing that and I have a little bit more flexibility in what I do and when I do them, it's not so important for me to keep this around as a worry time book all the time. So what I've been doing is after I write down the tarot thing, I've been doing one page. Like I said, I've only been doing it for the last 2 days, but it is really, really helping me kind of move through how I'm feeling right now as I've learned to decondition myself from thinking weekday equals stress. A lot of that stress is lifted right now. I'm not in the weeds with my PhD. I'm not at work anymore. A lot of that stress is lifted, but the conditioning is still there. So working through those emotions and how that sits, and like try to get back into a more focused headspace that's excited about my thesis and what comes after and what comes next. So that was a ridiculously long video. I'm kind of sorry, but I'm also not sorry. I've been meaning to make this for a really, really long time, and this is something that's been on my mind for a really, really long time, and something that's been really, really important to me. One of the things that I really, really want to do as I move forward in the next couple of months is I am trying to go on this sort of emotional, spiritual, whatever you want to call it, healing journey within myself. And kind of recognizing these things is what, pushed me onto that path. I know that a lot of the stuff about my depression and trauma and anxiety has really resonated with a lot of you. So if you are interested in kind of more of that sort of stuff and how I'm doing what I'm doing and how it's going, let me know. Because I mentioned this before, I definitely think better by vocalizing it. So if that is something you'd want to see, then I know it would really, really help me to vocalize it and put it out there. But for those of you who subscribe for the original reason I made this channel, I do have some ideas like going, and I do want to kind of get back on like a semi-regular schedule, but I am very much not making promises to anybody, especially not myself, because I've got a lot that I'm focusing on right now, and I've got some really exciting stuff in the works. I think it's exciting, but of course it's also terrifying. So all of this stuff is floating around in my head, and it's like buzzing like a million different bees, and staying calm is something that I've really wanted to sort of focus on as we move into the next zodiac year. I know nothing about the zodiac. I love the personality stuff. I think it's so much fun, and I read all the jokes, but I know nothing about it. It's not really something that I pay attention to or subscribe to. But the fact that we've just entered Aries recently and that we've started the new zodiac year gives me kind of a really nice starting point to say, all right, new year, let's go, because I didn't make a New Year's resolution, so I can pretend this is my new year. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. I just wanted to say thank you guys for sticking around all this time, and for watching this video, and for being so patient with me. I'm really, really grateful, and I hope that anything that I said here could help you if you're in similar times of stress, right? So thank you so much. I will see you next time. Bye.